This is A to Z with Mark Zinno, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta, and it starts now.
Good afternoon. Welcome to A to Z here on Locked On Sports Atlanta, where today I ask you, let's figure out what the real problem is. Welcome in. We are live here on this Monday. Thank you so much for joining me. Hope you guys all had a wonderful weekend, back in the saddle here in a beautiful week in Atlanta. Follow us on Twitter at Locked On ATL. Of course, you can follow me at Mark Zinno, MarkZinno. We'll get into the home run derby tonight for Ronald Acuna and the rest of the members there. Look at some betting angles for that if you're interested in that sort of thing. And if you're not, you'll enjoy what I have to say about the home run derby otherwise. Why? Because that's part of this show. I do want to start today with an interesting topic that I feel like it's a fair question to ask when diagnosing the problems with the Atlanta Hawks. I mean, let's look at objectively where we are. And by the way, this segment is brought to you by our good friends at Sports Card Investor. Let's look at where the Hawks are at this point in the offseason, right? We are at a point where, we thought that John Collins would be traded already. This team would have a new look, a fresh look, and they would be going forward, hopefully on their way to improving their standing in the Eastern Conference. None of that has happened. In fact, they traded away Kevin Huerter. I mean, granted, they get Dejounte Murray back, but they've traded away, a bunch of other guys, and they've never really made any significant impact on their team other than adding a good defensive guard in Dejounte Murray. And that's fine. I think that's a step. Obviously, it's not everything. But that said, when you're trying to figure out where this team is going to go and how they can get to the top of the Eastern Conference, I think you have to acknowledge here that not everything is as easy as it's made out to be. And what I mean is, it's not just go get another star and pair him with Trae and boom, you're going to be a top 3 team in the Eastern Conference and you got a great shot to win a title. No, it's not that simple because, one, getting another star is very, very difficult. 2, you have to wonder at this point what Trae is. And I don't say this as a pejorative. I try to look at this objectively, okay? And Trae is a star in this league. And what you really have to ask yourself, for as much as you're contemplating whether John Collins could be a number 2 in a big 3 or whatever it may be, you really have to ask that question about Trae. Is Trae really a true number 1 that you build around? Or is Trae the secondary piece to another star? I think that question is fair to ask. I think it's a question that you have to dive in. It's got a lot of different angles to it. Because in reality, when you look at it, you have to figure out if Trae is the answer and not part of the problem. So far in a 3-year span, I've seen the star here in Atlanta not get along with his head coach. And now there are questions about how much he gets along with John Collins, if he does at all. Now, I'm not saying you got to be friends with everybody. I'm not saying you have to like everybody. Look, Kevin Durant and Draymond Green didn't like each other. But guess what? That's a top 10 player in NBA history in Kevin Durant and most likely a Hall of Famer in Draymond Green. That's not the case for Trae Young. He's not a top 10 player in NBA history, and he's not on his way to the Hall of Fame yet. So when you have that level of talent of stars who don't like each other, it's different. And until Trae gets over the top, until Trae can lead a team to the promised land, I'm not so sure he gets to call the shots that he's called so far, right? Because it's different when you win it all. And I'll explain how in just a moment. First, for a word from our friends at Sports Card Investors. Whether you're a casual card collector or looking for the exciting alternative investment opportunities, the Sports Card Investor app has something for you. The breakout stars, the prospects debuting just at the MLB draft last night. You can check out the value of all those players and find great deals on their first cards, or you can go the nostalgia route. Older players, go back in time, see how much your favorite cards are worth today. If you're interested in getting into sports cards, you can find great deals on your favorite players, some of the biggest players in the game. This is a great way to get in love with the sport that you do love and find a way to have an extra investment off of it. Download the Sports Card Investor app today, available for free in Google Play and Apple Play stores, or go to sportscardinvestor.com/locked on. So let's continue here with Trae Young. Again, he didn't get along with his last head coach in Lloyd Pierce, and now there's questions about how he gets along with his number 2 star in John Collins. And so when I look at a star who hasn't won it all, it's a different perspective, right? Like Patrick Mahomes gets to call shots. Tom Brady gets to call shots. I mean, these are guys that have won titles and have been to the top of the mountain and have done it multiple times. Josh Allen doesn't necessarily get to go to the Buffalo Bills and say, yeah, I don't really like Stephon Diggs. I'd like somebody else. That's not how this works. You have to get to the top of the mountain. It's like that old scene in Bull Durham. If you remember the baseball movie Bull Durham, the character Nuke LaLoosh and Kevin Costner, Crash Davis, who's the wily old veteran in the minors, and Nuke is this young hot star, and he's got fungus on his shower shoes. And Kevin Costner's character, Crash Davis, looks and says, you got fungus on your shower shoes. When you win 20 in the show, you can have fungus on your shower shoes and the press will think you're colorful. Until then, get clean shower shoes. And he's 100% right. Once you win a title, you can do whatever you want. You get to say whatever you want. You can do whatever you want. You are at the top of the mountain. Nobody can debate it. Nobody can ever take it away from you. That's why it's so precious. It's not the case for Trae Young. And this isn't a slight on his talent or his ability to lead a team, because I think we've seen a little bit of it in the playoff run 2 years ago when they went to the Eastern Conference Finals. There's a sense that maybe Trae can elevate and lead, but there's also a sense that, hey, man, this is my team, and you do what I say, and I don't care about playing defense, and I'm not going to play. You better play defense, but I'm not doing it. There's that a little bit do as I say, not as I do around Trae that feels like he doesn't have to play defense. He doesn't have to be better on defense. We're willing to accept that Trae is going to be lazy on the defensive end of the court. Nah, that don't fly with me personally. Defense is all about effort. I've talked to hundreds of coaches, particularly in college, when I was calling college basketball games for years. And they all tell you one thing: defense is about effort. It's all about how bad do you want it. I don't doubt that Trae wants a title real bad. I do doubt if he's willing to do everything necessary to get it, because playing defense is part of that. And you can't escape that. So I think it's a fair question to ask about Trae. I don't think it's unfair to ask, really, is Trae 100% the solution to what you're looking for a title? Because right now, objectively, the Hawks have not gotten better than Miami. They've not gotten better than Boston. And they have not gotten better than Milwaukee. And I'm not even including Kevin Durant and the possibility of him and Kyrie being back in Brooklyn this year. So at the very, very absolute best, if you're the 4th seed in the East, is that good enough for you to get out of the East? And the answer is no, because you're not better than any of those 3 teams I just told you about a moment ago. Still a steep hill to climb for the Atlanta Hawks. All right, coming up next, Home Run Derby tonight. Where should you put your money if you'd like to wager it? But it'll be fun to watch, and I'll explain why each guy could do well. That's coming up next right here on A to Z on Locked On Sports Atlanta, free on YouTube, and wherever you get your podcast, search Locked On Sports Atlanta.